The night air was cool against my skin as I rode my bike along the narrow trail that wound through the forest. The moon cast an ethereal glow over the trees, casting long shadows across the path. I had always enjoyed riding my bike at night, but tonight felt different, as if the forest itself held its breath in anticipation of something sinister. As I pedaled deeper into the woods, the trees seemed to close in around me, their branches reaching out like gnarled fingers to snatch at my clothes. I felt a shiver run down my spine as I realized just how alone I was out here in the darkness. But still I pressed on, driven by a sense of curiosity that bordered on obsession. Suddenly, a strange noise echoed through the forest, a low, guttural growl that sent a shiver down my spine. I stopped my bike, my heart pounding in my chest as I strained to listen for any sign of danger. But all was silent once more, save for the sound of my own ragged breath. I debated whether to turn back and head home, but something inside me urged me to press on, to confront whatever lay in wait for me out here in the darkness. With a sense of dread gnawing at my stomach, I continued down the path, the shadows closing in around me like a vice. As I rode deeper into the forest, the darkness seemed to grow thicker, enveloping me like a suffocating blanket. The only sound was the soft crunch of leaves beneath my tires, the only light the dim glow of the moon above. I felt a sense of unease settling over me like a heavy weight, but still, I pressed on, unable to resist the pull of the unknown. And then, just when I thought I couldn't take it anymore, I saw it. A small clearing bathed in moonlight, the trees parting to reveal an old abandoned cabin looming in the distance. I felt a surge of relief wash over me as I pedaled towards the cabin, hoping to find shelter from the darkness within its crumbling walls. But as I drew closer, a sense of dread washed over me like a tidal wave. There was something wrong about this cabin, something sinister lurking just beneath the surface. I hesitated for a moment, wondering if I should turn back and flee this place while I still had the chance. But something inside me urged me to press on, to confront whatever lay waiting for me within the darkness. With a sense of foreboding gnawing at my stomach, I dismounted my bike and approached the cabin, the sound of my footsteps echoing through the empty silence of the night. As I reached the front door, I hesitated for a moment, my hand hovering over the doorknob. I could feel a sense of malevolence emanating from the cabin, like a palpable force that threatened to engulf me. But still, I pushed the door open and stepped inside, the darkness swallowing me whole. The interior of the cabin was shrouded in darkness, the only light coming from the pale moonlight streaming in through the dusty windows. I could feel the hairs on the back of my neck standing on end as I explored the deserted rooms, the floorboards creaking beneath my feet with each step. But as I ventured deeper into the cabin, I began to hear strange noises echoing through the darkness, whispers that seemed to come from nowhere, the sound of footsteps that echoed through the empty halls. I tried to tell myself that it was just my imagination running wild, but deep down, I knew that something was terribly wrong. I rounded a corner and froze in my tracks, my heart pounding in my chest as I saw it. A shadowy figure standing in the center of the room, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. I felt a chill run down my spine as I realized that I was not alone in this cabin, that something sinister lurked within its walls. With a surge of adrenaline, I turned and ran, the sound of my own footsteps echoing through the empty silence of the cabin. But no matter how fast I ran, the figure seemed to be gaining on me, its unearthly presence closing in with each passing moment. I stumbled and fell to the ground, the breath knocked out of me as I struggled to get back to my feet. But before I could move, the figure was upon me, its hands like ice against my skin as it reached out to grab me. With a primal scream, I lashed out, striking the figure with all my might. Blow after blow rained down upon it, each one driving it back further into the darkness. And then, with one final desperate strike, I delivered the killing blow, sending the figure tumbling to the ground in a heap. As the figure crumbled to dust before my eyes, a sense of triumph washed over me, for I had conquered the darkness and emerged victorious. But as I looked around the deserted room, I realized that I was still trapped in this nightmarish place, with no way out and no one to hear my screams. And as the darkness closed in around me, swallowing me whole, I knew that I was doomed to wander these haunted halls for all eternity, a prisoner of the darkness that lurked within the shadows. The warm California evening air caressed my skin as I rode my bike along the winding trails of the nearby hills. The sun had long since dipped below the horizon, leaving behind a canvas of deep purples and blues overhead. It was the perfect night for a ride, or so I thought. As I pedaled further into the darkness, the familiar trails began to take on an eerie quality. The once vibrant foliage now seemed to loom over me like silent sentinels, their twisted branches casting ominous shadows on the path below. I brushed off the feeling of unease that settled over me, chalking it up to the natural spookiness of the night. But then, as I rounded a bend in the trail, I saw something that made my blood run cold. A figure stood at the edge of the path, its form shrouded in darkness. I slowed my bike to a stop, my heart pounding in my chest as I stared at the figure, willing it to move or speak or do anything to break the silence. But it remained still, a silent sentinel in the night. I felt a chill run down my spine as I realized that I was not alone on this deserted trail. Panic surged through me as I considered turning back, but something kept me rooted to the spot, unable to tear my eyes away from the figure in the darkness. And then, without warning, the figure began to move. It stepped forward, its movements slow and deliberate. I felt a sense of dread wash over me as it drew closer, the shadows seeming to swallow it whole with each step. I wanted to scream, to run, to do anything to escape the terror that gripped me. But my body refused to respond, leaving me paralyzed with fear as the figure loomed closer and closer. And then, just when I thought I couldn't take it anymore, the figure spoke. Its voice was low and raspy, sending shivers down my spine as it whispered my name. I felt a surge of terror wash over me as I realized that this was no ordinary encounter, that whatever stood before me was something far more sinister. With a newfound sense of urgency, I turned and fled, my heart pounding in my chest as I pedaled as fast as my legs would carry me. The darkness seemed to close in around me, swallowing me whole as I raced through the night. I didn't stop until I reached the safety of my home, the warmth of the lights spilling out onto the street like a beacon in the darkness. I collapsed on the doorstep, gasping for breath as I tried to make sense of what had just happened. But deep down, I knew that some mysteries were better left unsolved, that the darkness held secrets far more terrifying than I could ever imagine. And as I lay there in the safety of my home, I couldn't shake the feeling that the shadows were still out there, lurking just beyond the edge of the light, waiting for their next victim.